Retired Cowboy lived alone for years until 5 Apache widows begged for shelter on his ranch. The year was 1886, Arizona Territory. The wars were over, or so they said. The Apache had been forced onto reservations, their warriors gone, their families scattered like tumbleweeds in the wind. Across those same lands, an aging cowboy named Samuel Sam Colson lived alone on his dusty ranch near the Sierra Madre foothills. His days were quiet, spent mending fences, feeding horses, and talking to no one but the wind. He'd ridden with the army once, fought Apaches and outlaws alike, but the years had taken the fire from his gun hand. What remained was a man tired of killing, haunted by ghosts and waiting for peace that never seemed to come. One cold evening, the desert sky glowed red as fire. Sam sat on his porch, a coffee cup trembling in his rough hands. Then he saw movement near the ridge, 5 figures walking through the dust wrapped in tattered blankets. At first he thought they were travelers, maybe settlers lost on their way west. But as they came closer, he saw their faces, women, Apache women, their eyes hollow, their clothes torn, their feet bleeding. They stopped near his corral, unsure, frightened. The oldest stepped forward and spoke in broken English. "We need place. Cold coming, no food. No man." Sam stood silent for a long moment, his heart torn between fear and pity. "This is no place for you," he said, though his voice wavered. "Town's 3 miles east." The woman shook her head. "No go town. They hate us. You." "Good man?" Sam looked at the 5 widows. One carried a baby on her back, another limped badly. He remembered the winters on campaign, the freezing nights, the faces of those left behind. Finally he sighed. "All right," he muttered. "You can stay the night, but just the night." He brought them into the barn, lit a lantern, and gave them water and dried meat. They ate silently, watching him with cautious eyes. The youngest, barely 20, whispered something in Apache, and the others nodded. Sam didn't understand, but he knew trust had to be earned here. That night, as the wind howled through the canyons, he lay awake in his cabin listening to the faint murmurs from the barn. He'd lived alone for 15 years. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't sure he liked the silence anymore. Morning came with frost on the ground. Sam found one of the women, slender, dark-haired, trying to milk his old cow. She looked up, startled. "We work," she said softly. "For food." He nodded slowly. "All right then, you can help." Soon they were chopping wood, cleaning stalls, cooking over open flames. Each woman had a quiet dignity, a strength born from pain. They told him their story piece by piece. Soldiers had raided their village months ago. Their husbands killed. Their homes burned. They had walked for days to escape the reservation and found no mercy anywhere. As the days passed, Sam began to notice small changes. The ranch that had once felt like a tomb was alive again. Smoke rising from the chimney, laughter echoing faintly at dusk. One widow, Naichi, the eldest, took charge of the cooking and mending. Another, Tala, sang softly to the baby every night. The youngest, Sani, was bold and curious. She followed Sam when he rode out to fix fences, asking about his horse, his rifle, even his scars. He found himself smiling more, something he hadn't done in years. Still, he knew trouble was never far in the west. One afternoon, a group of ranchers rode up, neighbors who'd heard about Indians living on his land. Their leader, Clayton Reeves, spat in the dust. "You gone soft, Sam? Letting savages take over your place?" Sam's jaw tightened. "They ain't hurting nobody," he said. "Their widows just need a roof." Clayton sneered. "They'll bring trouble. Either you send 'em off or we will." His hand drifted toward his gun. Sam's eyes went cold. "You best ride off before you say something you'll regret." The standoff lasted a long moment before Clayton cursed and turned his horse. "You'll regret this, old man." That night, Sam loaded his rifle and checked the barn doors twice. The women sensed the danger too. "We can go," Naichi said quietly. "You helped us." "We don't want bring war?" Sam shook his head. "Ain't no one chasing you off this land again. Not while I'm still breathing." The women exchanged glances. They saw in him not just a man, but a protector, someone who had once been their enemy, now their only friend. A week later, the ranchers returned, this time with torches. Sam was ready. As they rode in shouting, he and the women took positions. Naichi doused the lanterns. Sani handed Sam his rifle, eyes fierce. "We fight," she said. The first bullet cracked through the dark, grazing the barn door. Sam fired back, his old aim still sharp. 2 riders fell. The rest panicked as the women screamed war cries that echoed through the valley. Flames licked at the edges of the corral. But Sam and the widows fought the fire back with buckets of sand and water. By dawn, the attackers were gone, the ranch still standing. When the smoke cleared, Sam slumped against the fence, exhausted. Tala brought him water, her hands trembling. "You saved us," she said. He shook his head. "No, you saved me." His voice broke. "I was just waiting to die before you came along." Naichi laid a hand on his shoulder. "Now you live." That morning, as sunlight broke over the hills, the ranch looked new again, scarred but alive, reborn from the ashes. Months passed. The women stayed not as guests, but as family. They rebuilt fences, planted a garden, and raised the baby whom Sam called Little Dawn. The neighbors stayed away, fearful of the man who had faced them down for what he believed was right. Sam didn't care. The ranch that had once been silent now sang with life. He taught the widows to ride horses, to shoot, to trade in town when needed. The townsfolk stared, whispered, but no one dared speak to him again. As seasons changed, so did the hearts in that home. Sani, the youngest, often rode with Sam at sunset, her laughter echoing across the open plains. She admired his strength, his patience, his quiet sorrow. One evening she said softly, "You heart alone too long." He looked at her unsure. "I'm too old for that kind of life." She smiled. "Heart not old, just need fire again." He didn't answer, but her words stayed with him. Years rolled on. Sam grew slower, his hair turning silver, but the 5 widows and their children kept the ranch alive. People began calling it the Widow's Ranch. Travelers said the old cowboy had once lived there alone until 5 Apache widows came to him like angels in a storm, and that together, they turned a dying man's land into a place of life and hope. When Sam passed away one quiet spring night, the women buried him beneath the mesquite tree he'd planted years ago. They sang an Apache morning song that echoed through the valley. The baby, now a young boy, stood beside them, clutching Sam's old hat. From that day on, no one ever dared set foot on the widow's ranch without offering respect. And sometimes, when the desert wind swept through the hills at dusk, those who passed by swore they could hear voices, laughter, song, and the faint sound of a man's boots on the porch, a legend born not from war or conquest, but from compassion. The story of a tired cowboy who gave shelter to the forgotten and found, at last, the family he'd never known he needed.